Good evening, everybody. Ryan Forbes is the co-founder of the Two Mugs fantasy football site, aka TwoMugsFF.com. He and PIC Rumford Johnny do the weekly Two Mugs fantasy football podcast, along with maintaining great content on the site, along with my annual highlight, the annual beer draft. He also, for better or worse, is a Kansas City Chiefs fan, and that's why I have him on tonight for the first 2014 edition of Know Your Enemy. Oh, look at that. Huh, strangely, he does not have a quarterback jersey for the Chiefs. I don't know, that's interesting. Anyway, so how are you doing tonight?
I've made a vow to never buy a quarterback jersey unless he is drafted in the first round because the Chiefs seem to be allergic to doing so. He could be the worst quarterback in the world when it's all said and done, but if he's drafted in the first round, I will buy his jersey. But
I was thinking,
no,
when's the last time was Todd Blackledge like the last guy they actually drafted in the first round?
I,
Because I
I
don't even remember.
I'm pretty sure. And he's the last. I know for sure he's the last one to win a game as a guy that they drafted, and I think they took him. That was the Marino draft, I believe. It's all fuzzy.
83. Yeah, it's very fuzzy.
Anyways, dark past of Chiefs quarterbacks. I mean, we had the Montana era, but that was fun for a few years. That
Well,
was
I lived in Kansas City, 1989 to like 92. So that was,
okay.
I feel like that was the best era they had. I mean, I know they won a Super Bowl, but that was just a lot of fun, even though their offense was a little iffy. They always had that great defense, and Christian Okoye never made a cut in his entire career. It was awesome.
So to answer your question, though, I'm doing great. I mean, football season is less than 24 hours away. We have a great game tomorrow night, so I'm looking forward to that. And then our great game Sunday, of course. You should live up to the Thursday night game.
There are at least 15 others, so that's good. And I think 9 others at that time slot, so that makes it perfect. Lovely. So how does Chiefs Nation, if there is such a thing, feel about this 2014 season?
I think, I really think they're perceived as a team due for a letdown. Just the general vibe. The offseason moves have been less than stellar. I mean, you go from a pretty loaded team last year to a lot of questions, especially in the secondary. Definitely on the O-line. And, obviously this week Dwayne Bowe is going to be out, so you wonder who's going to catch the ball this week too. So a lot of question marks at several position units, which we didn't have that last year, and I think the results kind of showed that. But just looking back, not to ramble on too long, but looking back to last season, a lot of the success early was they faced backup quarterbacks. I mean, even in that Titans game, it was backup quarterbacks. So to that extent, I think that the Chiefs are due for a letdown this year. I'm expecting like 7-8 wins tops. So anything above that is a surprise.
Yeah, I have to say I was feeling pretty good when it was 17-13 Titans early in the fourth quarter of that game, and then that was pretty much it for the Titans.
It's already slipped my mind. Who started for you guys?
Ryan Fitzpatrick, Fitzmagic, and then he became Fitztragic at the end with a couple of interceptions.
Yep.
So that's one reason why I'm like, all right, Texans fans. Anyway, I'm not get too excited about this year, but you got Ryan Mallett, so we'll see how that goes. So you still believe in Team Reed? I mean, I know we're only in year 2, but it was quite a comeback, and as you said, it seems like expectations are down, but you still think long-term he's going to be a good coach for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone to overachieve, I feel pretty confident that Andy Reid can do it. Certainly an offensive genius. If he can make do with this patchwork O-line and, having Jamal Charles around certainly helps with that. It takes the pressure off the offensive line because he can make people miss. It's a blessing to have him. And that's why I'm more worried about the offensive line in the passing game. Can they give Alex Smith time? It's not a team that's going to throw a lot deep anyway, so it's really just a matter of time, to get some crossing route guys free and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like to think, I pay attention to the NFL and I'm keeping track of depth charts, but it was like just today was the first time I'd ever seen the name Frankie Hammond in my life. And I hear he's apparently a starter or he's going to play a lot of snaps for the Chiefs in week one. So what is going on? What is there some kind of plan in Kansas City with the receiver? Because I mean, I know Bo's out, but it's like besides that, they just sort of didn't seem to care.
I mean, Donnie Avery's probably one of the only household names on the roster, and even he is not super well known. AJ Jenkins certainly well known, maybe by some, who follow the draft. He was drafted in the first round by the 49ers, and they traded another first-round disappointing wide receiver in John Baldwin last year to get him. So, I mean, really the only household names are there. Albert Wilson is a rookie. I think he's somewhere down on that depth chart, maybe fourth or fifth. And so, it's Frankie Hammond, it's Donnie Avery this week at the starting wide receiver positions, and I think Junior Hemingway, again, another guy you probably haven't heard of. He's seventh rounder out of Michigan 2 years back. He's going to see some time in the actually, I think it was last year, but he's going to see some time in the slot for him. But, what I think it comes down to is a lot of two tight end sets, especially given how bad that O-line has looked. You'll have some help on the offensive line. You guys, a guy can chip. And B, this Kelsey guy looks like he could potentially be the real deal, the Tony Gonzalez that we've been missing, I guess. And Fasano's a reliable pass catcher as well. So I think, they're probably going to be the biggest thing for the Titans to kind of scheme against. I'm pretty sure the guys on the outside you can get away with single coverage and not have to worry about them too much.
Well, I've already posted on Twitter that I know that like NFL, the red zone's going to show a highlight of a Donnie Avery deep catch just because it's just going to happen.
And likewise for Justin Hunter, though, right?
Well, we sure can hope so. I mean, yeah, that's another side of the Chiefs that you already mentioned is like, what on earth happened with that offensive line? I mean, they seemed to have a pretty good unit last year, and then, of course, they dumped their left tackle, and seems like everybody else is either injured or like a sixth-round pick.
Our number one overall pick last year, Eric Fisher playing left tackle, I mean, he seems to be a liability at this point at that spot, a little bit overmatched. He's had some injury trouble. He did have surgery on a torn labrum, so I think, part of it's just getting up to strength, getting that strength up, because even going back to last year, I mean, he could be manhandled at times. He's not a guy that's mean, that's got a mean streak by any means. He relies more on just being kind of smooth. And there were times last year when he was beaten bad, and early returns in the preseason, he's moved from the right tackle to the left tackle. I'm just not encouraged at all. So I'm saying my prayers for him over there and hoping he can do something.
Aren't you a little bit like pissed at fate just because 1 year Andrew Luck's the number one pick, and then the next year it's a guy out of Central Michigan.
Oh yeah, I've tweeted such. It's like 3 years ago Cam Newton, the year after Andrew Luck, Eric Fisher, and then Jadeveon Clowney. So yeah, that's it's just kind of all part of being a Chiefs fan, though. That's really what it boils down to. That's just our luck. We can't have nice things.
Yeah, it kind of happens. So when you look at this matchup with the Titans, where do you think the Chiefs have major personnel advantages over the Titans?
I would usually look at the Chiefs' front seven and just go on defense and say, they're going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. But, you have to really be impressed with what the Titans did and have done over the last few years in the offensive line. I think that, they'll be up to the challenge of Tom Hawley and Justin Houston. It's not to say they'll keep them quiet all game, but, when I look at it on paper, it's like this front four, front seven, they have to get pressure on Jake Locker so that he doesn't have time to find Justin Hunter on a go route where he's beating Ron Parker on the outside or Marcus Cooper, whoever young cornerback that I don't have very much confidence in decide to throw on him. So, if they can get pressure early I think it really takes the Titans out of their game plan, where they have to get the ball out quick, and that's going to play to the advantage of these guys on the outside who are gonna man up, are gonna play press coverage. I mean, that's what they do. And for the Chiefs, it's all about getting pressure. If they can't do that, it's gonna be a long day on defense, and you just have to hope Alex Smith and company can keep pace at that point. And
That's right. It's Alex Smith time. Got to feel it.
Yeah, Alex Smith with no Dwayne Bowe and patchwork wide receivers. I mean, it's going to be a lot of Jamal Charles in this game on offense for them. So prepare.
Well, you can say that the Chiefs obviously don't look like the offensive line is their strength, but the Titans on defense have not really looked very good. Transitioning to the 3-4, and it seems like they've been getting gashed regularly by guys who are not on NFL teams anymore. So you got to feel good about that. I mean, you have the top running back, if not the top 2 guy on your team. And I guess maybe that's why I didn't care that much about the offensive line. Like, hey, we have a great running back. Who needs somebody to block, right? Yeah. No, not so much.
I just pray that Kelsey, Charles, and everyone else make it through safe, make it through the wrath of Bernard Pollard, so that we can move on to week 2, win or lose.
Yeah, Pollard usually only injures Patriots, and they're not on schedule.
He's a former Chief, though. You never know. He might have some angst. You never know. So.
Yeah, the national media doesn't seem to care much about the revenge factor. I mean, we have. Are you worried about Dexter McCluster and Ryan Suckup getting revenge? And I'll pause for the laughter.
It's funny that Suckup got signed so quickly. Not that I think he shouldn't have. I was actually surprised that he got cut. But it's more funnier, I guess, that he got signed to the Titans, who they play in week 1. And, the way these 2 teams match up, the spread is, I believe, 2.5. So a last-second field goal from 49 yards sounds about fitting for Ryan Suckup, make or miss. But he's a pretty solid kicker. So you guys should be happy about it. I was really surprised he was cut. And I don't know much about this Santos guy that they've got from Brazil, but I'm sure he kicks the ball a mile.
Yeah, those Brazilian guys that Titans had this 2-guy battle. I felt bad because they were fighting it out for like 6 months, and then the guy won the job, and 2 days later he gets cut. But that's one reason why I'm glad that in a couple of leagues fantasy leagues we got rid of kickers, just because the turnover was insane this year.
Yeah,
there are guys that people hadn't heard of 2 weeks ago, and now they're starting.
As far as McCluster, I mean, I've watched the guy play for years. If anything, I'm scared about him. Are they using him on returns?
I think he's going to be the punt returner,
okay.
And it seems like he's going to be their Danny Woodhead. I don't know if it's homeless guy or poor man's version of Danny Woodhead, which doesn't seem to be that good, but hey, Wisenhunt likes him, and he seems to like being a running back. Chiefs didn't really... I don't know if the Chiefs didn't know how to use him, or it's just the fact that
they
didn't translate,
They put him everywhere. I think he had a tendency to just kind of get lost because he was just so small. Not a guy that's going to break tackles, obviously, and really at NFL speed, he doesn't stand out to me. Get him on a punt return. I think that's where he's going to do his damage. And he certainly did for the Chiefs. A great punt return. I mean, you get some space and you can make people miss. It was more when he had to get past the line of scrimmage, when everybody else on defense is as fast, if not faster than him, I think is what it boiled down to. And for a smaller guy, that's tough to overcome.
Yeah, I don't know if the Chiefs have much of an offensive role for the Anthony Thomas, but it seems like he's a rookie, cheap version of McCluster with more speed, or at least in terms of returner, he seems like
we'll see about that. I think some encouraging early returns from him in the preseason. I think that Andy Reid, and I shouldn't have failed to mention him because he will be part of the game plan, especially with Bo out and these patchwork wide receivers. So kind of a Dante Hall X factor, if you will, if anybody remembers that reference.
Yeah, he was good for like 2 or 3 years. He was the the man, and they'd always kind of like Devin Hester. They would try to use him on offense, and it wouldn't
It's
work.
just one of those things. It doesn't work for most of those guys when they every year they'll say it. Oh, we're gonna get him more involved, but yeah, that's just what it is.
Sometimes it's good enough to have a kick return because the Titans had such horrible special teams play, at least for the first half of the year.
He'll be great in that role. Don't get me wrong, McCluster for sure. I think he was near the top in the league in terms of average on punts. So
Yeah, I think he ended up in the Pro Bowl. So, okay, we have to get the question out of the way. So, Alex Smith contract extension. What do you think?
you know the numbers, they're not terrible. I think he's, when it all boils down to it, he's like the 11th highest paid quarterback or something like that. When is what I was reading, and it's basically like, he's going to make $68 million over the next 5 years, or $76 million. I don't know. I try not to pay too much attention to it. It's, he's not getting Rodgers, Breeze money. He's not even getting Flacco money. So I guess you can kind of smile about that, because I've never been a huge Joe Flacco fan. He got hot at the right time, but he's not going to be the guy to carry a team for 20 games during the season. So to that extent, we have a quarterback. I guess what I dislike is more, if you look at the attitude like the Seahawks had. They brought in all these free agents, veterans, drafted multiple quarterbacks, and finally they found Russell Wilson. It just seems like the Chiefs get a guy in there that's okay, and then just kind of punt everybody else. Bring in a guy like Chase Daniel, who may be a capable backup, but never gonna push a guy for his job. Drafting Aaron Murray, I have I just don't know. I don't think he will amount to much either. You look at what 150 some other teams passed on him, and maybe that's a simplified way to look at it, but it's like, bring somebody in that's going to actually push him for his job. Had a chance to draft Teddy Bridgewater this year. I wouldn't have minded. I wouldn't have minded at all. But that's what it is. That's what it is for me. It's just constantly committing to a mediocre quarterback. I like Alex Smith. He's a good quarterback, but he's never going to be a great quarterback. Is what it boils down to.
Big bag of meh. So, living in Wisconsin, do Packers fans still give you crap about Super Bowl I?
No, I don't even know if many of them know that they beat the Chiefs in that Super Bowl, to be honest. Of course, some diehards definitely do, but no, not too much. I always have the last laugh, because the last time these two teams met head-to-head, it was the 14-0 Packers versus the 1-13 Chiefs, and the Chiefs came out on top. And I had a house full of Packers fans at my house for that game, so definitely enjoyed that.
I bet. Okay, we'll do one or two questions off the football path a little bit. So if you invited a former Chiefs quarterback to participate in The Bachelor, who would that be?
In The Bachelor? Definitely Ricky Stanzi. America. I know it's a little more recent one, but fans, for a guy that never started one time at quarterback, the fans sure as heck wanted to see him out there. But if anybody remembers the clip on YouTube from, I don't remember what game it was, when he was at Iowa, he had the old America, baby. This is. He just ranted about how awesome America was. So that kind of gets you on his side, and I think he'd be great on The Bachelor.
Him or Tyler Bray, I think,
Yeah, Bray's a little more of the party. He'd be good as well.
All right, so for the final word in the game, what's your prediction for the game, and what will you be drinking?
Drinking depends on game flow. I'll probably start with some Dell's Pale Ale, because that's just my beer of choice, and probably keep those flowing through the first half, and then we'll see what happens in the second half. Might turn to bourbon, but hopefully I don't have to do that. I think it will be a fairly high-scoring game, actually. I think we're looking at, like, I can't pick against my Chiefs on the first game at home, so I think are they at home? I don't
Yeah,
even
they
know
are.
now. Yeah, that's what I thought. Sorry, spaced out for a sec. But we'll say I called it a field goal. We'll call it 27-24 Chiefs.
And once again, yeah, I was really, because I lived in Kansas City and I went to University of Missouri. I was like, well, it's the first week of September. Missouri's going to be playing some scrub at home on Saturday, and then I'll go to the Titans game on Sunday. Well, Missouri decided to travel to Toledo for some reason, like they forgot they're in the SEC.
Yep.
So yeah, that whole plan kind of died. I think they said Dexter McCluster was talking about, he's not going to play the bongos like Chris Johnson. I'm like, well, you haven't scored that many touchdowns in your career, so I wouldn't worry about the touchdown celebration so much. I don't know. Now you'd probably get banned for a year if you made that kind of celebration.
Yeah, easily. It'd definitely be. I mean, we have to compare it all to Ray Rice, so it'd definitely be more than Ray Rice's suspension.
That's our standard these days. So before we call tonight, Ryan, let us know what you have in store for 2014 for Two Mugs, the podcast, the site, all your daily work. What's happening?
Man, we got a lot going on. I haven't ever been busier with the site, and that's okay. We got every week the podcast, and that goes on all year, whether it's drafting, whether it's free agency. We talk all year, and it's fantasy related, but we try to, when it's not fantasy football season, we do sway away from that. So, but this year, I mean, we'll be talking every week. We'll break down all the matchups, tell you who you need to start, sit, who we like. We've added a lot more daily fantasy twists because it's getting popular. I've played for the last 3 years. I love it, and so we're doing that. We have Davis Maddock on for a segment every week. That's sponsored by our good friends over at Fantasy Elite. They're also a daily fantasy site. I recommend you check them out. But we have him on offering daily fantasy advice. He's certainly one of the better players in the industry. And then on the site every week, we have our rankings. Johnny wraps up every Sunday night and Monday the games, posts that, lets you know what you missed out on. So, yeah, we stay very, very busy. So it's fun.
Yeah, you definitely should check out the Two Mugs podcast because they don't quit like some people during the off season. They just dig into the draft like 12 seconds after the Super Bowl's over, and they're covering you year round. So you got to stick with the people that cover you year round, not the people who come lately and just decide to jump in August.
I think we took 1 week off. We took the week not right after the Super Bowl, so we wrapped up the Super Bowl. We took the week after that off. I had a week off last year when my son was born. Just was bad timing. So 2 weeks off for me on the podcast in the last year. So we stay busy. I think I need to count the episodes again. We're easily over 150, probably closer to 180, maybe pushing 200. So
it's good stuff. So everybody check it out. Ryan Forbes, Rifo18 on Twitter. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Appreciate you having me, Zach.
You're very welcome, and you can find me, Zach_Law, and we'll be posting this on fantasysports.org so you can keep up with what's happening with Titans and, of course, the entire fantasy industry. So, for Ryan Forbes and for myself, thanks, everybody. Good night, and that's right, football.
Cheers.
Less than 24 hours. Real football, real beer. And, yeah, go Chiefs. Why not?